Put me on some music, but let me turn it down. Let me turn this all the way down though, so only I can hear it. Hey y'all, happy Friday. I literally am supposed to be in a meeting right now, but the person ended up not showing up. So I said, let me get on live. It's Friday. I'm feeling good. I woke up feeling like so much gratitude this morning. Like I was like going through my emails and like going through my calendar, because I keep like a calendar now so that I can always be on time for my appointments and things like that. And I realized that when I was going through my emails this morning that my YouTube account just reached 3,000 followers. That feels really good to me, because I remember when I had less than 1,000, and I felt like it was such a struggle for me to even get 1,000 people to follow me on YouTube. And so one, I'm able to monetize my YouTube. Two, I have over 3,000 followers, and you're able to monetize based on how many views you get, which means that this month alone, over 7,000 people have went and engaged with my YouTube content, which is amazing. Because I've not been a person who has been like a cross-platform type of person. So I think in January, I started posting my content on Instagram, and it actually is doing really well on Instagram. It's been doing better on Instagram than it's been doing on TikTok. And I would have never knew that if I had not got out of my own way. But not only that, my YouTube content, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna build up my YouTube. But I was thinking like for my YouTube, I was only gonna do long form. Like I wasn't gonna post any of those smaller videos that I have made. And since I have just kind of been like, no, I want people to be able to find my content wherever they go, wherever they find me, they find my content. And so I started posting some of my content on YouTube, and I'm getting so many people who just follow me on YouTube, or so many people who just follow me on Instagram, or whatever the case may be. And now like you know, I'm not able to monetize any of my content on TikTok, but I am able to monetize on YouTube, which is something that's new. So I don't know. I just was waking up feeling like really grateful this morning, because I realized that everything that I was kind of praying for, because I did like this huge vision board thing where I just put like who I wanted to be, how I wanted to dress, how I wanted to feel, the type of people I wanted to be around, where I wanted to travel, like what I wanted to do career-wise, the type of people I wanted to allow in my life. And when I look back at that, I have almost everything that I put on that list, and I was reading it religiously every single morning. I have almost every single thing. I get to wake up when I want to. I work from home, you know, like I own my own schedule. So I get to schedule when I do things, you know what I'm saying? Like I have ownership over my whole entire time. And I was talking to one of my mentees this morning, and we was just basically talking about you can have whatever you want. You just got to really go after it. You got to put in the work. And I feel like that I have put in so much work over these last couple of years, and I wasn't even able to just sit in gratitude for it, because I was constantly reaching for higher heights. And so now I'm in this place where I am able to slow down and just stop and just show appreciation for where I am. And I just feel like these last couple of months, these last 3 months, really have been really overwhelming, because I just feel like my life has changed completely. Like my bills get paid off of what I make in that month, and I make enough to pay my bills, and I live in LA. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like whatever it is that you're trying to do, just do it. Like don't let nobody stand in your way. Like everybody was telling me that I was crazy. I just don't know how to fall in line. I don't know how to do this, trying to dim my light, telling me I care too much, I think too much, and all of these things. And it turns out that all of those things is what got me to where I am now, to where I finally don't have to be in that corporate system that I fucking hated. I hated it the entire time that I was there. Like I'm finally building a life that I actually enjoy living. Like I don't mind getting up and meeting with my mentees. Like I actually enjoy meeting with my mentees, because I learned so much through them. As much as I'm pouring into them, they also pouring back into me. You know what I'm saying? So I love getting up and talking to people every single day. I love doing these readings, because I know that this information quite literally changed my life. For me to be in a position where I'm able to give that back to somebody else who is also feeling how I used to feel, like that is top fucking tier to me, you know? me doing these mediumship readings and bringing to people's awareness things that they just don't understand, or they just think that they've healed all the way, and then I bring something to their attention and it's just like, wow, I didn't even notice that that was happening. Like having those breakthrough moments and being able to just create the life that I want, be able to live just based off of me just being me showing up how I normally show up, how I show up in every single scenario. It's just, I don't know, I'm just so overwhelmed with gratitude for that. So I wanted to share that. I'm actually supposed to be in like a little session, but somebody didn't show up. So I was like, let me get on here and talk to my people. Hey, Anissa, thank you, boo. Hey, Nydia. I hope that's not Nadia, because if it is Nadia, I keep calling you Nydia, and that don't feel right to me. Correct me if I am wrong. That's amazing. The power in speaking and doing is real. It is. Yeah, everyone isn't made for a 9 to 5. Yes, I agree. I don't think any of us are made for a 9 to 5, if you ask me, because we are not designed to stay the same. And I think that is just another form of conditioning, like the education system. Working a 9 to 5 is trying to keep us in the same monotony. And we are meant to grow and evolve and change and all of those things. And I think that when we are continuously programmed from 5 years old all the way through our entire life that we're supposed to be doing the same thing, it creates this environment that we think we're not supposed to change, and we are. Like, we are literally designed to grow and evolve, but they don't want us to grow and evolve, because us growing and evolve means that we are reaching expanded awareness, we're reaching these high densities of consciousness, and we're no longer going to be able to be controlled. You know, I'm coming up on my 33rd birthday, which is literally about to be in like 2 months. You know, your 33rd year is when you actually hit that peak, when you actually have that moment. You know, that's what they say, Jesus died at 33, the 33 vertebrae. Like, it's literally when you get your activation. Like, I'm so excited about that. And it's like the old me would have been like, oh my gosh, that's so old. And it's like, no, 30 is when you hit your peak. It's like, this is the first time in my life where I'm sure of myself. I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly what I want. And, you know, I was talking to a mother yesterday who was basically talking about her daughter's like 22, 24, or whatever, somewhere between 22 and 24. And she's like, I just want her to get her life together. I just want her to be able to do this, do that. And I'm like, you remember what it's like to be 22, 20? You don't have it figured out. If you do, good for you. You one of the lucky ones. But most of us are not going to have it figured out in our 20s. Our 20s is when we're trying to figure it out. It's the first time that we actually have autonomy over ourselves. It's the first time that we actually we're able to govern ourselves. We're able to figure it out. We don't have our parents just down our fucking throat, down our back. You know what I'm saying? Hey, D. So I was saying, we got to stop as a black community. Just the moment our kids turn 18, we ready to get them out the house. Like, that is not how it's supposed to be. Other communities don't do that. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to be grateful that you even have a house and stability to be able to take care of you and your kids, to be able to help set them up on a proper foundation. But to expect your kids to have it figured out at 22, diabolical. They frontal cortex just developed yesterday. You know? Thank you, Tanique. I appreciate it. Oh, it is correct. So it is Nydia. Okay. So you're a medium. Do you read cards too? Yes, I'm a medium. I prefer to raw read. Like, I prefer to just tap into people's energy and read it. However, I do use tarot for confirmation sometimes. Yes, living the life we desire to create is what I'm passionately pursuing. Yes, and you should. Like, you should. The way that I used to think about my job and like the later part of me working for corporate America, the way that I used to think about my job is, this is just something I'm doing until I get off. The moment that I would get off, I would start writing my podcast episodes. I would start, getting myself together, doing the things that I actually wanted. I was always setting goals. I was always reaching for the next thing. I was always doing something, like setting vision boards, organizing my week so that this week I'm going to spend 2 hours doing this. Then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do that. It's like I was using my job. I didn't even care about what was going on there. It was just like, you know what? Normally I would be stressed out. I'd be trying to fix things. I would be, towards the end, I was just like, that's not my place. This is their business. They need to run it the way that they run it. I'm just here to do a job. I don't want the responsibility of fixing and taking care of everything, because I'm trying to use that energy that I'm using for them for myself. I just happen to be more feminine energy. And because I'm more feminine energy, I thrive in the nighttime. So I go to work in the morning, I give them what I give them, and I skate. The moment that the clock strikes 5, I'm Houdini. I'm out of there. I'm on my way to what I got to do. And then I spent, and it meant that I worked a little bit longer nights. It meant that sometimes I didn't go to sleep till 2 o'clock. It meant that, you know, I had to make sacrifices, but I'm glad that I did that, because doing that literally changed my life. The first time I ever had a viral video, I was working for a company full time, and I didn't get off till 5 o'clock. And actually, really with the company that I worked for, it wasn't really no time schedule. It was like they could hit you up anytime throughout the night. If you ever worked in film, casting, anything like that, they talking to you to 8, 9 o'clock, right? I would get done with that, and then I would immediately start on my stuff and not get done till like 1, 2, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, get what I need to get done, and have to get up the next morning at 8 a.m. to have my messages sent out. Because I was like you can kind of think of like an executive assistant almost. Like, it's like I was helping connect the owners of the business to the people who are doing the casting, you know? So it's like I had to be up at the ass crack of dawn, and it's like I worked from home, but I was so busy throughout my day taking meetings, you know, calling people to make sure to see if they wanted to be on the show, like stuff like that. And then it was like when I got done with that, I just went straight back to my stuff. And I wasn't getting good sleep, but I was driven. I had a plan. I was putting boots on the ground. Like, if there's something that you want to do, you have to do it. I think sometimes that we be so drained from work that we come home and we go straight to sleep, or we make our dinner, go straight to sleep, wake up, do that shit again, and do that again, and do that again. But you are not designed to be like that. And if you want better, you got to use your time wisely. Instead of being in front of the TV, because I love a TV show, I love movies. Instead of doing that, I was working on what it is that I wanted. And if I wanted to let that play in the background, fine. But I was doing something in that moment to get me to where I wanted to be. I was nurturing my mind. I was healing in real time. I was believing in myself. And I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest realization that I ever came to this year was that I did not feel adequate. I didn't feel enough, because I was never really shown gratitude for anything that I was doing well. It was like everybody always expected me to do well, so nobody ever worried about me. And I was mentally suffering because of that, but nobody was ever worried about me. So it's almost like I had to push myself my entire life. I didn't have no supporters behind me, rallying behind me. Even when I went to college, nobody called and checked on me. Nobody even made sure that I had money. I had to work all the way through college. You know, so it's like I had gotten this energy of governing myself. But when nobody is rooting for you, 9 times out of 10, you don't end up rooting for yourself. It's like you take on this personality if that's what you're supposed to do, right? But a lot of our energy needs to feel satisfied. So that means we need to show gratitude. Sorry, I feel like that was just a ramble. But I needed to get that ramble out. Because there's so many of us who live in a life that we don't actually enjoy living. And we need to just do the things. Do the things. I say that about kids all the time. Me too. I'm grateful to provide for my baby at 18. Yes, we need help. We got to think that our community don't have the same access to resources as other communities, which means that we got to be each other's resources. When I look at Latino or Hispanic families, they live, it be 30 of them in the same fucking house, you know, which splits up the bills. You know, everybody got their own little corner, their own little space. But it's like, well, we need to bring back family housing. When I think about my dream for the future, I want to farm because I want to make my own food. Like, I'm reverting instead of going forward with like, I would want to make my own food because I cannot trust the people who are making the food. We've given them way too much power. And now they can do whatever the fuck they want to with the food. No, I want to have a farm. I want there to be 3 houses. I want my uncle and his kids in one house. Me, my brother, and my mama in one house, because we can only take each other. Everybody else is piece by piece basis. And then my auntie and her kids in one house. You know, like everybody on their own, in their own house, got their own driveway. It's a big piece of land. And then we got a farm that we running together, and everybody get to just do what they want to do. Raise their kids how they want to raise their kids. Homeschool their kids. You know, like build that community again. We Latinos don't leave home until we get married. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. How did you become a psychic medium? Oh, I was kind of thrown into it. It was almost like a gang initiation or something, because I've been a medium my whole life. I've been picking up on information my whole life. I've been having prophetic dreams. The earliest I can remember was about 4. But we didn't talk about it in my house or anything like that. So I was on the internet being reckless, exposing the elite, things like that, which got me on a target list of some people. and somebody did like black magic on me, and I'm clairaudient. So like I heard a voice in my head telling me I was nothing more than a puppet. They would make me docile, and then it felt like something turned down like the right side of my brain. And I'm not gonna lie, after that, I felt like an imposter in my body. I felt extreme paranoia. I was just tripping, like I was tripping. But it only lasted for a couple hours. And then I reached out to my psychic because she's the one who told me I was a medium. She had told me I was a medium like before, but I was just like, you know, like that thing where it's just like, okay, girl, yeah, You know, I know what mediums are, and I knew I was picking up psychic information, but it was nothing that I wanted to travel into. So I'm just like, oh yeah, girl. Oh, thank you, girl. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I get that because I'm having prophetic dreams, you know, and I have been having them my whole life. But it was just like, I'm not going in that territory, so it don't really matter. But when that happened, I reached back out to her and I was like, okay, you know what? I fight in the physical world. Ain't nobody about to tear my ass up in the spirit. I need to know more. And I started reading books. I started, like, when I say I hit the books hard, like, I was listening to audiobooks every single day. I was smoking, and not cigs, of course. I was smoking tree. I'm in California. I was smoking tree every single day, listening to audiobooks. Like, I was reading probably like 4 or 5 books a week. And I'm like, I have a really photographic memory, so I can just remember things. Like, all I do is got to hear it, and that it's stuck with me forever, right? So I was like reading books, I was learning stuff, and as I was learning stuff, I was getting downloads. It was like I was getting a shit ton of downloads because I'm playing around in the spiritual realm. When you smoking tree, that's what you're doing. You're entering into the spiritual realm. So I'm getting all these downloads and stuff about some of the information that I'm getting, and I was just like, you know what? The lady who had did my psychic reading told me about a school that she went to, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to mediumship school. And it really was a mentorship. It was about $390 a month. The only thing is that she was Caucasian, and I didn't know how I felt about that because I felt like I needed to learn from my people. But I still did it, and I was just like, okay, you know, I need help. It don't matter where I get the fucking help from. Like, just somebody help me. You know, so I did that for a couple months. I got my certificate, but I still didn't feel confident in my reading because I felt like that she really was just like pulling people off of Craigslist and just having me read them. But I didn't feel like it was a lot of like teaching going on. And I was asking all these questions, and I feel like she was just kind of rushing me off the phone. It was like she really didn't want to be bothered with the asking of questions, with the teaching part of it. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't feel like she was telling me I need to charge $200 per reading. And I'm like, I don't even feel confident in what I'm doing. Like, why would I be doing that? No, I'm not going to do that. And so I decided not to do mediumship, and I did a couple readings for like some friends and stuff like that. And it was good. Like the whole time that I was in the mentorship, I did amazing. I'm not gonna lie. It shocked the shit out of me. I told some of y'all on the last live that I was on that I was gonna post some of them readings because the shit that I was able to pick up on, like somebody's mama had died in a car accident, but she was a passenger, and I could feel the seat belt across my body. Somebody's uncle died at sea, and I was able to figure out that that's what he did for work. You know, like, and that because it felt like I was suffocating, it felt like I was drowning. You know, so it's like I realized that, oh, you are way getting. She kept on telling me I was advanced, and I'm like, I don't feel that way. And then I mean, the shit that I was able to pick up on was just kind of crazy. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I do need to still look into this because again, I still was getting spiritually attacked. It's like the moment that one attack happened, it's like I kept getting attacked. And so it felt like every time that I was like either smoking too much or drinking too much, like something would come to attack me. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. So I ended up doing another psychic reading from a medium off of TikTok who I actually enjoyed her stuff. And when I did the reading, she invited me to her class. And so like it was 3 months left of her class. So I joined her class. And that's what helped me to be confident in my gifts, because she actually was having us like bringing people in. Why would I be getting restricted on live? Like, this is my experience. I don't understand what's going on. But anyways, but basically she was bringing people in for us to read, and she was basically reading with us. So she was telling us, like, giving us confirmation, and that's really what I needed because I had been gaslit my whole entire life. Like, so I was kind of conditioned against my own intuition in a way. And so that is what gave me the confidence, because for 3 months I was able to really, really practice and like practice in a group, and like people was picking up on what I was picking up, or I was picking up on stuff that they wasn't picking up. And it really just helped me to gain confidence in myself. And it really just helped me to realize that I can't go against what I'm feeling. You know, sometimes people don't have good awareness of themselves. And so you got to always trust what you get in and don't back down and be like, oh no, then maybe it's not that. Like, no, if you're feeling it, it's probably there, you know? So, So yeah, so after that class, I started offering mediumship readings full time because I had my certificate. I just wasn't doing nothing with it because I was just like, I don't know. I don't want to be, taking clients and I don't feel confident in what I'm doing, right? And then now I teach people. So my mentees are in month 5 with me, and they've been reading for about a month now. Not a month, 2 months, because I do it every 2 weeks. They do a little group where I bring people in and they read people, and I'm reading with them. I'm doing kind of like the same thing that she did for me. And I got me some baby mediums on my hands right now, which is really good. And everybody has this capability. It's really you, 33 on the clock. That's crazy. It's really you tapping into your spiritual chakras. And we used to be people who communicated through telepathy and through telekinesis, but we had to develop the alpha beta system because I don't want to say that because y'all always getting a tizzy when I say that. But let me just say this. We are angelic crystalline beings, and that is Black and Latino people. Okay. However, there are created beings, and created beings could not communicate in the way that we could communicate because we have soul energy and they have spirit energy. Okay. So that's the best way for me to say that to y'all in a way that y'all understand. And I don't mean to offend anybody, but that is the truth that I have come to. My truth does not have to be your truth. Okay. So we used to be people who communicated through telepathy, through telekinesis, but the alpha beta system was created so that we could start communicating through language because we had to communicate to other beings that they keep telling us that we're all the same and we're not. So we had to learn how to communicate with them, and they could not communicate in the same way that we could communicate. Okay, so we actually turned our back on our own advanced technology to integrate with our own creation. It was our creation, we created. But to integrate to them, we had to create a system so we could communicate. And we became reliant on that system, and that's kind of led us to here. But a lot of us still have access to that, but if you don't use it, you lose it. So there's a need for you to start using it again, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'll be working on my life purpose while my 9 to 5, I enjoy it. Yes, you should. I feel it, yes, and you inspire me so much. I'm so grateful for your knowledge. Oh, thank you. I'm comfortable with you doing a raw reading. I prefer to use protection. Oh, you're not. Oh, I'm uncomfortable with you. Okay, I'm uncomfortable with you doing a raw reading. I prefer to use protection. That's funny. I got a raw reading from her. Yes, this is. Oh yeah, D. Hey D. I think her reading is actually on my YouTube. If you guys want to check it out. I also have another person who did a reading, which is actually on my YouTube as well. You said the work driven, you committed. Yeah. You got to be committed to your goals and creating a life that you actually want. And it requires you to enter into grind time and figure out what exactly it is that you do want. You know what I'm saying? But in order for you to figure out what you do want, you also got to go back and look at your trauma and look at your belief systems, because that governs how you operate when you wake up in the day. That governs how you move through life, and what you believe in, and, the limits that have been placed on your mind. So you really do need to go back and look, you know what I'm saying? She is very genuine, and I trust her energy work. She's nurturing and very loving. Thank you. I appreciate that, D. I love you, Black woman. I love you back. I really want to live a homestead life. Me too. I don't know why. I have always wanted a farm. And so I had said something to my dad about this. And he was just like, oh, you come from farmers. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And I was like, that's crazy, because the things that we interested in are usually the things that are stored in our DNA that we have no awareness of. And so I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we used to, I guess his mom came from a farm, but she was a city girl when I met her. But she came from a farm, and they used to grow peaches and figs and cotton and like all of that, and they actually sold it. And now they all have farmland, and everybody in their family lives on this land together, but in different houses. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. That makes sense. Hey, Unique Element. I listened to the Fifth Element live again. I feel like I'm going to be a YouTube student of yours. Yes, I love that. Oh, you're welcome for the numerology series. I'm going to continue that on. I just need to do things in spurts and periods. I'm doing a spiritual intelligence 101 right now. I am going to start doing a podcast, but what I want to do with the podcast is come live and start reading these documents, because y'all, I might, hell, maybe I got about an hour and 30 minutes before my next person comes on. Maybe I'll start the document about the Anunnaki, because what's crazy about that is, if y'all seen the new show Paradise, right? If y'all seen the new show Paradise with the guy from This Is Us, and it's basically talking about them having to go live in an artificial reality, them having to go live in a mountain, right? That's made out of technology. And they're all in this mountain because when they was living out on Earth, there was a cataclysmic event that happened, and there was a wave that basically washed over the entire Earth. And the wave actually came from a piece of ice falling in Antarctica that was really, really big. So it caused this huge cataclysmic wave, right? In this document about what actually happened with the Anunnaki, or the angelic beings most of us are descendants of, supposedly, allegedly, right, was that it wasn't that they caused the flood. It was that they knew that a flood was coming because they gained the intelligence, because they were telepaths, right? And what they did is they put all they people on a ship, and they hovered above Earth. And what happened that caused the wave was that a huge sheet of ice fell into the water from Antarctica and caused the cataclysmic wave that swept across the fucking world. Now, when I seen Paradise, I said, oh, you bitches be playing in our face. Y'all be playing in our face. So I want to read this. I want to talk about this. Same here. Everything I smoke. Yeah. Gratitude for sharing love. You're welcome. Yeah, ignorant people report. They always trying to report my life for one reason or another. It's just so weird. The smoke is why they are restricting you. But the smoke is an incense. So how are they going to be able to tell what the smoke is from? They be restricting me all the time. And it always has to do with what I'm saying. Because somebody watches my page. Even when I post videos, sometimes if I go to comment on the video, it'll say this video is being monitored or something like that. It's like they haven't posted it immediately because somebody needs to review it. This video is under review. That's what they say. Yeah, but it's sage and it's incense. It's not, those are not legal. You know what I'm saying? So I want to talk about that. So maybe we should talk about that right now. Is it too late to get the 5D now that the earth split? Is it too late to get the 5D now that the earth split? I don't know. Hey, I'm just listening. My head started hurting again. I'm doing good, Stoney. How are you? Hey, James. They fact check your page because you got knowledge. Yeah, they always on my tip. Every single one of them, just hanging on. It's crazy. If I tell y'all the shit that be happening behind the scenes, like, I'm not crazy. I promise you, I'm not crazy. They know exactly what they be doing. Even sometimes when I come live and if I'm like talking about something very serious, y'all see me say, hold on 1 second, and I'll stop and I'll take a deep breath, and you'll see me close my eyes, and it's because they be trying to mess with my crown, and or like I'll start coughing. Yeah. They know exactly what they be doing. And I see you. And you're not gonna stop shit. I'm gonna continue. Say like the 5th dimension frequency, now that timeline split. To be in the 5th dimensional frequency, now that timeline split. There's still a transitory period. You give me clarity for sure. You welcome, boo. So let's do that. Since I got an hour before I gotta go, let's talk about this document that I found. And this is all alleged. None of this is real. I'm a cuckoo ass bitch, and that just is what it is. I'm just sharing some information that I found that I thought would be interesting. Okay? So for those who are here, you'll get this, and I'll post this on YouTube. Now, this document is actually called Old Earth History Book 1 through 5 million to 750 BC, the Anunnaki. So it's talking about the Anunnaki, but the purpose of this book is that it's supposed to give us a timeline of Earth. Okay, that was the whole purpose of this book. And it comes from this guy who was in a Scientology He was in the Scientology religion, but something must have happened and he ended up, it was being suppressed basically. And so he ended up releasing the information just in spite of what was happening. Okay, hold on. So this is supposed to be a time track of Earth's history. The events that are selected are supposed to provide insight into hidden history of Earth and extraterrestrial involvement on Earth. So this is a book. Oh, can you repeat or show the book? No, because it's not an actual book. It's a document. Okay, it's a document that somebody posted on the website that I use, and I'll give you the website. If you DM me, I'll send it to you. But no, it's not an actual book. It's just like somebody's research that they posted, and I love a good dive into somebody else's research. Okay. But it's called Old Earth History Book, and then it's 1 to 5 million to 750 BC. So that's the time frame. Okay, so the first place that they mention is ancient Mesopotamia existed in a region we now call Iraq. In the southern parts of Mesopotamia, an advanced civilization called Sumer appeared suddenly in 3760 BC. Now, I want to say this. Don't get caught up in the locations of where things happen, because I have some theories of my own about where things actually happened. Just listen to the story and what is being said in the story, because I think everything always has half-truths. Nothing is really going to tell us the full truth. We got to use our intuition. We got to use our discernment, okay? So the Sumerian records recorded history on the clay tablets. The other civilizations in Mesopotamia, the Babylonians, the Akkadians, and the Assyrians all recorded their history on these clay tablets, and that's what we call the Sumerian tablets. Okay, these are in like there's the University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology. They have about 30,000 of these cuneiform tablets, and cuneiform was like this language that they used to speak, and it's in a lot of the hieroglyphs and stuff like that. Now, the reason why we know what's on these cuneiform tablets is because this guy named Zechariah Sitchin. Now, Zechariah Sitchin was somebody, I think he was from Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me pull up my my research real quick. I believe that he was from Ukraine, but I want to tell y'all where he was from though, because something about it needs to be looked at. Okay, hold on. All right, so let me go to Zechariah Sitchin. All right, so hold on. All right, I might just read y'all this whole thing. Okay, so okay. So Zechariah Sitchin is the one who deciphered it. However, this guy who wrote this document actually went back and deciphered it himself, and he was basically saying that Zechariah Sitchin didn't give us all the information and he added in information. Okay, so the hieroglyphs used to be the way for us to communicate, because every single symbol held like a full concept of information. So when we would see these hieroglyphs, we were able to unlock the meaning of them through our intuition, right? It was a way for us to kind of communicate in code in a way. Not that we were trying to communicate in code. However, we were able to connect with those symbols and pick up a whole slew of information. Like it would to be like in one symbol would be like a whole full story or whole full concept, right? So Zechariah Sitchin was not one of us, but he was born to a Jewish family in 1920. So he is from Israel, born to a Jewish family, and he received his degree in economics at the University of London. Because I'm the type of person that if somebody giving me information, I need to know where you got it from and who you are, right? So I thought it was interesting that he's Jewish and he's from Israel. Okay, that's the guy who gave us the information that's on the cuneiform tablets. Now, if you think about what's happening agenda-wise in the world, that's crazy. So after he like left the University of London. He became an editor and journalist in Israel before moving to New York in 1952. During his time in Israel, he learned ancient Hebrew and other ancient Mesopotamian languages, but he taught himself. He was self-taught. Okay? He worked as an executive at a shipping company, and that's where he taught himself how to read cuneiform. So to me, if you ask me, that's just a bunch of fucking guesses. Now, what he supposedly did is went through these cuneiform tablets, and when they were using specific symbols, there were like pictures and stuff there. So he was able to use pattern recognition to decipher it. But that doesn't mean that it was all the way correct, because if you think about it, he didn't know the language. He taught himself. He was self-taught. Okay? So you don't really know the nuances. So it's like you learning French, right? But then you go over there and you speak to French people, they be looking at you like, okay, you don't even know the slang, you don't know this. So they always ask you like, where are you from? Like what you, so it's like you can get the main theme of it, but you're not going to get those little nuances that somebody would get who actually understands, right? So there was this guy who came along, and I think his name is like Mike McClotry or whatever. And he was in the Scientology or whatever. And he was a black guy. And he went back and read the cuneiform tablets, what he could read, and he got a different interpretation, and that's what he put in his book, okay? So after he learned to read cuneiform, he visited several ancient sites and started going public with his hypothesis. Now, hypothesis is something that needs to be proven, okay, about the role extraterrestrials played in ancient human history. These extraterrestrials were called the Annunaki, which translate to those who from heaven to earth came, okay? He wrote several books deciphering these tablets called The Earth Chronicles, and others about Nibiru, the undiscovered planet, and how it was part of our solar system. Scientists have confirmed a gravitational pull of a larger body just outside of Neptune and Pluto. All of these interpretations that we have of the Sumerian tablets is from Zecharia Sitchin, who again was self-taught. Okay, so this other guy, Mike, is telling a similar story, but it's different in some of its components and some of its parts. All right, so he starts his story in ancient Mesopotamia, where Sumer, an advanced civilization, suddenly appeared around 3760 BC. This would be what he considered to be modern day Iraq. Okay. Now, I do want to give y'all a quick sidebar. Allegedly, the war in Iraq was about them having access to a Stargate that was very important to the tyrants of this country. And there was this document that I found one time, y'all, of this like guy who looked like one of us, but he was big. Like, I'm talking about, he had to have been like 7 foot or something like that. And he was in this tomb, and it kind of looked like he was frozen in time. It was very much so giving, you know, like Vampire Diaries, how they would stab each other with that white oak, and then they would put each other in those caskets, and they would kind of just be frozen there. Like, that's literally what it was given. And so apparently there was a body or one of these beings, an Annunaki in a tube, who had been frozen in time. And again, I got this information from a document I seen a couple years ago, and there was a picture that was in this thing. Because y'all know I love going through documents and other people's research and shit, because I be trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, you know? And I feel like a lot of us could benefit from doing that, okay? But he was bigger, and apparently there was like a Stargate that they needed. And it's a Stargate, if you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically like a portal to higher dimensions or other realms. And these beings that came here actually had these portals or doorways kind of put up for them to move in between. And that's why we have like Stonehenge is apparently one of these portals, and all these like wonders of the world, because there are portals that kind of lead them. Like even, what's the one in California? It's like a Mount Shasta is an entrance. There's an entrance there as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, ancient Iraq was where these people were, but there's also a history of us with Iraq because of things that they have left from the past. Okay, now it's a known fact that the Sumerians used to record their history on clay tablets, and that cuneiform is the first known language here on earth, which is the language of these tablets. If you're just now joining, she's sharing her hemorrhoid journey. What the fuck are you talking about? Let me just block you. Okay. All right. So other ancient civilizations like the Babylonians, the Akkadians, and the Assyrians also used these clay tablets in cuneiform for record keeping. We have discovered over hundreds of thousands of these tablets, which are in several museums around the world. The biggest collection is in the University of Pennsylvania's Museum of Archaeology, and it consists of over 30,000 tablets. So that's a lot of information in one place. Most of what we will talk about comes from these tablets, according to this guy, Mike, but the tablets were allegedly written by the Sumerians about the Annunaki, who taught them advanced knowledge about the solar system that we are only discovering now. So I want to make this clear. The Annunaki did not write this. This was written by the civilization that was existing during the time that they were supposedly on this earth. Okay. Now, they came to refer to these beings as gods, but God is like a lowercase g, because if you look up the etymology of like God and gods with the lowercase g, it just means like a lord. Okay. So these gods were noted as ruling over several human civilizations like ancient Egypt, South and Central America, Greek, Roman, and etc. So all of the Greek pantheon, like the mythologies or whatever, actually are all talking about these beings. So I actually did a series on my YouTube about astrology, and I was talking about the planets, right? All of these beings, or the archetypes of these beings, are associated with planets back then. So I told y'all basically what beings, like the deities of the sun, the deities of the moon, the deities of Jupiter. Like I went through every single pantheon and I connected them so that you know, like, this is what it was for the Aztec, this what it was for the Egyptians, so that y'all have a clear path of who was what and who played what role or whatever. So that is on my YouTube if you have not checked out my YouTube series on astrology. Okay. Now, according to these tablets, the humans at the time knew that they were extraterrestrial, and they just basically lived among us. Now, Sumer ended up being destroyed in a nuclear war between these beings in 2024 BC, and one of their leaders broke off and started the Hebrew language. So the Hebrew language actually comes from these people. Now, he is apparently the God that is referred to in the Christian, Hebrew, and Muslim Bible, and they were called Elu, which translated to the lofty ones by the Akkadians, which is where the word El stems from in Hebrew. Originally, El translated into deity, but then it was changed to mean God with a capital G later on. Yes, this is me. No, my YouTube is Big Taj. It's BIGTAJJ. If you look on my page and you go to where it says Instagram and you click on that, YouTube will pop down. Okay. So they called them, the Hebrew word El actually used to mean deity. So Elohim, it used to mean deity. However, they changed it to mean God with a capital G later on. So they were called the Dingers, which means the righteous ones of the rocket ships. That's what they originally called the Anunnakis, is the Dingers. Okay. So just to recap, they were called by many names. Some of the names are going to be Anunnaki, the Elu, the Elohim, and the Elohim meant them as a group. Okay. The Elohim, the deities, basically, the Dingers, and then the gods with lowercase g's. Those are all names that were used to describe these same beings. Okay. Now, just to give you a quick overview of their involvement, we're going to do a deep dive into details of these events, but I want to give you guys a quick summary of important events before we get into the juicy parts. Okay, so the Anunnaki came to Earth to establish a mining colony to mine for gold. After hundreds of thousands of years of having their soldiers do the mining, they decided to make human slaves to take over the work. They crossbred a creature that is natural to this earth with their own genetics. Now, that creature was supposedly Homo erectus. So like Lucy, that they found 2 million years ago, the first person that they say is the first being that they ever found 2 million years ago, and it's a black woman in Africa, right? But she not the same being as us. We're Homo sapiens, they were Homo erectus. This is the being that was around during the time, as they basically crossbred themselves with this being to create a slave to mine their colonies. Okay, the reason why they needed gold is because their atmosphere was deteriorating and it was becoming too cold. So they needed the gold so that they can kind of do what we do with chemtrails. They fly something around in the sky, they drop the chemtrails, and then that chemical expands in their atmosphere, and it actually was helping to close it off so that they can capture in their sun. But yeah, so they crossbred this creature that was natural with their own genetics, and this created the first Homo sapien, which is Adamu. Okay. Adamo and his wife were banished to Eden. So it's Eden, okay? Because I told you that they were called the Dingers. So they created a place called Eden. So it's E.din, which was the home of the Anunnakis in Mesopotamia. I honestly believe there's people here governing certain energies from billions of years ago. You just wait, mamas. You just wait. We're getting there. Okay? So, Eden was the home of the Anunnakis in Mesopotamia. That was the name that they gave it. Okay? After these two populated the earth, some Anunnakis wanted to marry human females, but their leaders objected to it. Now, supposedly, I read somewhere that this was the Moors. And you know, the Moor Indians that they're always talking about, who basically cannot fall underneath the jurisdiction of any, what do you call them? Any police force or governing force on this world, because they're supposed to be like the first people. And that's when you see the Vatican like bending down, kissing the feet of black people and stuff like that. It's these Moors people. Now, apparently the Moors were the ones who wanted to take on these beings as wives. Now, I just want to be clear. When I first read this story, I thought that we were the beings that they created, but we were the beings who were doing the creating. Okay, the beings that they created were supposedly the people who were created in petri dishes. Okay, anyways, they were the first to mess with dimensions. I need that. What book are you reading from? It's not a book, it's a document. But this is me reading from my notes though, because I took detailed notes. So when I post this on YouTube, I said it a couple times in the beginning of me starting this, so I'll just repeat that, okay? Okay, so after they populated the earth, these Anunnakis wanted to marry human females, but the leaders objected to it. Then the leaders decided he wanted to exterminate all of the Homo sapiens with the flood from a tidal wave that he knew was coming. Okay, he didn't create the flood. He just knew that it was coming and he was only going to save his people. One of the Anunnaki saved some humans from the flood by putting them in a boat. But it wasn't an actual boat. It was a submarine because it had advanced technology. So it wasn't an actual boat. So the boat that Noah was on was supposedly a submarine. Wait a second. After the Anunnaki civilized them, they taught them and elected kings. A nuclear war began between the Anunnaki. After the leaders declared himself as the only ruler of earth, he started the Hebrew language and introduced this concept of one Lord, which was the one world order. Okay. He also made it a crime for them, meaning the Hebrews, to acknowledge any other Anunnaki as a Lord. And he forced this onto Hebrew people by mass unaliving them with a plague if they refused to follow his orders. This is where monotheism was introduced and enforced. Monotheism is the belief in one God. Okay, so let me read some of y'all comments real quick, just to make sure we all on the same accord. So, orbs are the Anunnaki. Constantly head and neck pain. I feel like it's spiritual as I go through my journey. Okay, the orbs are the Anunnaki. That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, they are back. And they're multidimensional beings. Not that they ever left, because some of them are supposedly us. But wait a second, okay? Now, the Mesopotamian tablets were written thousands of years before the Hebrew Bible, which is the Old Testament. The Hebrew Bible is the Old Testament, okay? But the Hebrew Bible was created through the early authors, altering history and changing some of what is said in the tablets. Now, the author of this document said various Bibles have been given to humans with the lie that the Lord of their particular religion is the creator of all. But the truth is that this so-called God is an extraterrestrial from the planet Nibiru. He was an Anunnaki. And all religions can be traced back to the Anunnaki, along with the source of wars as well. But he also makes a point to say that their involvement is not limited to the past, as some of these beings are still covertly active in human affairs today. And they are not only the extraterrestrials involved in our life on Earth either. The CIA confirmed that they lied about the Bible. Okay. Did y'all hear what I said? He also makes it a point to say that their involvement is not limited to the past, as some of these beings are still covertly active in human affairs today, and they are not the only extraterrestrial beings involved in our lives here on Earth. Okay? Okay. Now, let's talk about the development of life forms on Earth. Okay? I'm reading a document. I'm going to post this on YouTube, y'all. Y'all can go back and watch it. For y'all that's just coming in, y'all can just go back and watch it, okay? Now, let's talk about the development of life on Earth. So, we're going to jump back to the beginning of Earth, life on Earth 5 billion years ago. 5 billion years ago. So, we know the Earth is about 5 billion years due to radiometric dating of lunar rocks and meteorites, okay? Meaning, you can Google this. I actually Googled it myself when I was doing this research. I actually Googled it myself. Okay. So what they basically do is take like a place where a meteor hits, or they take like certain rock formations from Earth and try to backdate it. Okay. So this method measures the decay of radioactive isotopes, which are basically like elements like carbon, in rocks by comparing the amount of radioactive isotopes to its decay products. Okay, so from this, we determined that Earth's oldest rocks are about 4.54 billion years ago, give or take about 50 million years. So we're not necessarily sure, but we know for sure it's about 4.54 billion years, give or take 50 million years. Okay. So basically, this is our best guess. Nobody really fucking knows. We don't know what the truth is about this, okay? Now, one of the most famous fragments comes from the infamous meteor crater in Arizona here in the USA. Okay? Now these tablets contain a story called the Epic of Creation, which talks about how the solar system was created. During the time Nibiru was a wandering planet just moving through our outer space, and about 4 billion years ago, it was drawn into our solar system, meaning that it was pulled into our solar system. Now, I did a series of the second season of my podcast. I talked about Helena Blavatsky's book, which is theology basically, but it was talking about the creation of Earth and how everything evolves through these things, and it talks about how stars are created and how they're kind of sent through the universe, kind of wandering until they're pulled into the gravitational pull of whatever place that they're going to be set. Okay, so this is basically saying Nibiru was just wandering around, which Nibiru is supposedly a spaceship, but it was pulled into the gravitational pull of our solar system. Okay, now when it was pulled into our solar system, one of its satellites temporarily collided with Earth, which forced it into an odd elliptical orbit around the sun, which comes close to other planets in our solar system every 3,600 years. Now, let me show you this picture that they give me for this, of how the elliptical was, okay? So this is what the elliptical looks like. Now, this is supposedly Nibiru. In Nibiru, you see the elliptical is kind of colliding in the middle. I'm sorry. Going this way, and then this is supposedly our solar system, the flat one with the sun being in the middle. Okay, so yes, this document has pictures. This document has pictures of everything. All right, so let me go back to what I was saying. Now, Nibiru has a couple of symbols. One is a winged globe and another is the cross, because it's crossing through our solar system. So they have a winged globe and they have a cross, and it was referred to as heaven, the celestial adobe of the gods, the place of eternity, the celestial Lord, the planet of millions of years, and the imperishable star. So those are some of the things that they use to describe Nibiru. Okay. Now, close to 445,000 years ago, the beings of Nibiru established a mining colony on Earth. In the Epic of Creation, which is a series of tablets, these cuneiform tablets that we talk about, it gives a detailed description of what happened upon Nibiru entering our solar system. So apparently what happened is that the planets were formed from breakaway pieces of the sun. Remember, remember in season 2, like I said in my podcast, we talked about how planets are just suns that have been cooled off after hurling through space until it collides with something or it slows down based on somebody's gravitational pull. Okay, so if you watched, I'm gonna get there, y'all. I'm gonna get there. So if you watch, if you listen to my second season of my podcast, this is not gonna be new information to you, okay? Because I talked about this. Now, when Nibiru entered our solar system, the current planets were affected, which formed the heavens and the earths above, because Earth was created from the collision of one of their satellites with the Earth, and Uranus and Venus were pulled in the opposite direction, which is why they rotate in the other direction, and Uranus was pulled on its side. This is the first time that Uranus was pulled on its side. It was not originally like that, but the gravitational pull of this huge celestial body, which is like 3 times Earth's size, caused this, okay? And Neptune seemed to be pulled by a strong gravitational pull outside of the sun. So NASA came out and said that they feel like Neptune is being pulled by something else. And they confirmed that there was a body outside of our solar system that we were not aware of. However, they took it back and said it disappeared. Okay, so I'm about to get there. So the Bible, so now that we know what they saying happened in this document, we don't know if this is true. We're just talking about it, okay? Now the Bible took this story but said God created it, but the tablets do not say that at all. The tablets say that it was created when Nibiru came into our atmosphere, okay? Because they were the first beings, okay? Now, I told you that scientists have confirmed that there is a large celestial body just past Pluto. Well, the scientists were from NASA, and they did this in 1982. So you can look this up. 1982 is when they confirmed this. But in 1983, astronomers announced that a planet as large as Jupiter has been found in the direction of the constellation Orion. They called this planet X, which is also what they call Nibiru. They called this planet X, and it was said to be 4 times the size of Earth. So not 3 times, 4 times, my bad. And moving towards Earth. Okay? After this initial announcement, they made another one saying that it had vanished into thin air. All right. So there are only 3 options here. Nibiru is either in our solar system, but astronomers have not seen it yet. It is in our solar system, but they are covering it up. Or it is in a different solar system than ours. However, it has been confirmed that either way, it is there. Okay? Now let's talk about Earth 4 billion years ago. The first living cell appeared 4 billion years ago, and it is the common ancestor of all life form on Earth. This includes plants and animals. This cell was super complex and intelligent in its design, and it had the capability of creating several different life forms. How did it get here? Well, that part isn't really made clear in this document, but supposedly everything comes from this supercell that is very intelligent, complex, conscious form of life that entered our atmosphere or appeared on Earth 4 billion years ago. 3 billion years ago, simple plants started to arise, which caused the atmosphere to become oxygenated. Okay, 1 billion years ago, multi-celled life forms started to appear and reproduce by sex. Okay, 225 million to 65 million years ago, dinosaurs, which went extinct around 65 million years ago, according to what they say, okay, because of climate change. But they supposedly were existing around that time, okay? But there was a geologist named Walter Alvarez who was excavating land in Italy and discovered a layer of Earth's crust with high contents of iridium and shocked quartz, which dates back to when dinosaurs supposedly were alive, okay? So let me show you the picture. Let me show you the picture, okay? So these are the fossils that they show us in museums. This is the iridium layer that they found in Italy, okay? Now, that's the layer they found, just to show y'all the pictures, because it's pictures in this. That's why I wanted to do it this way, because it just would be easier than inserting all of this, okay? So this matched other samples from around the world that dated back to the same time period. And they also have this iridium and shock quartz present. So he said only two things could have caused this: a nuclear explosion or a meteor hitting the earth. Now, this is where the idea that dinosaurs were extinct because of a meteor, but they have never been able to find an impact site big enough to confirm this. So what they tell us is it impacted like somewhere in the water, so that we don't ask no questions. But I will say, from looking at this document, there are a lot of periods of time where they'll bring up meteorites hitting the earth or whatever the case may be, as an explanation, because that's the only way that they know how to explain certain things. They're just giving us a hypothesis. It does not mean that it is true. Okay? It does not mean that it's true. Iridium is a byproduct of nuclear war. Okay? Like sand, when it's hit with a nuclear weapon, turns into like glass and quartz. And iridium is like the byproduct of that, supposedly. Hold on. Don't give me the lion. That's how I understand it to be. But let me go back just to make sure. It's a chemical element. Okay. So it's a member of the platinum group of metal. And it's white. It resembles platinum, but it has like a slight yellowish cast on it. Its atomic number is 77. And it's a hard, brittle, silvery white transition metal that belongs to the platinum group. It's highly corrosive, resistant, and has a very high melting point, meaning that something that has superpower had to have hit this thing, because the only way you can turn something into iridium is if there's a really high melting point. Okay? Now, so meteors carry nuclear energy. That's their assumption. That's their assumption, because that meteor site in Arizona, I'm assuming that had iridium in it, and that's why they're saying it's either this or that, because the other site was found in Italy. So they know for a fact that something impacted, and they calling it a meteor. But they saying something impacted in Arizona, which gives us that huge crater that everybody goes and visits. I'm assuming that they found iridium in that. But if it was a nuclear weapon and not a meteorite, then that would mean whatever happened there is what I'm assuming. They described it to me as as melting electricity, and I don't know how you do that. That's scary. Yes, but they had nuclear weapons, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show y'all. Hold on, let me see where I am time wise. Okay, I got about 20 more minutes before I need to scram. Okay, and I'm gonna post this on my YouTube. Now, let's go back to what we was talking about. So 70 million years ago, mammals started to appear on Earth, and mammals are primates that nourish their babies with milk. That's how you do. That's what a mammal is. They nourish their babies with milk. Okay. Primates are man, apes, monkeys, and typically can walk on two legs. Okay. Now let's just stop for a second. If man, apes, and monkeys were all here, how could we have evolved from monkeys? And why haven't any more monkeys evolved into men since then? But anyways, I digress. I just want to say that. Now, 25 million years ago, this is when the ancestors that we have in common with the apes lived. They were a part of the Dryopithecus fossil group and went extinct 25 to 14 million years ago. So the reason why they're saying we evolved from apes is because there's supposedly a common ancestor that we have with apes. Okay? Now, 14 million years ago, there's a huge gap in fossil records of humans and anthropologists that have been trying, hold on, so they don't cut us off. So there's a huge gap in fossil records of human and anthropologists that have been trying forever to find the missing link, but they have not found a species that bridges the gap between humans and apes. Now, around this time, 14 million years ago, the hominids were believed to exist. This is the species in between humans and apes, but there is no actual evidence to prove that they ever lived. meaning they hypothesize that there's a common ancestor between human and apes, but they have not found any evidence of that to exist. Okay? You look that up. They have not found the evidence, but they have given it to us as a hypothesis. You got to know what the difference between a hypothesis and a truth is. A hypothesis means an educated guess. Okay? Now, 5 million years ago, the hominid family, Australopithecus, should have lived. That was the hominid family that's supposed to bridge the gap. Australopithecus, okay? Now, there have been fossils discovered in Africa that may be around 5 million years ago. This is the famous Lucy fossil, which would have been a hominid that walked upright and had human teeth. The official announcement said Lucy dates back about 2.9 to 3.5 million years ago. Her anatomy is a combination of ape and human characteristics. Most scientists agree that based on the physical characteristics of Lucy, she was likely an ancestor of a Homo sapien. Okay, so 14 million years ago, they had not found the bridge. 5 million years ago, they find Lucy. Okay, so I'm giving you a timeline. So I know you're saying they have now. I know I'm giving you a timeline. So let me say what I'm saying, and just let me say what I'm saying, because I'm giving y'all a timeline of how things and events happened. Okay? Now, 1 million to 3 million years ago came the Homo erectus. So they should have been around the Homo erectus. Okay? 1 million to 3 million years ago. Okay? This is an extinct species that should have walked upright, used fire and stone tools like hand axes, and they have recently found Homo erectus fossils that date back 40,000 years ago. Okay, so now Homo sapiens seem to have suddenly appeared 300,000 years ago, which was confirmed by fossil evidence from Africa. Okay, the records show a Neanderthal man appearing to be 230,000 years old, and a Cro-Magnon man appearing to be 100,000 years ago. This proves that human evolution chart is incorrect, because it shows a Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, and Homo sapien, but the Homo sapien fossils are actually older than both of them. So there is no way that Homo sapiens could have evolved from them. Okay, so I'm going to show y'all the picture that I'm talking about. So let me show y'all Lucy first. This is Lucy. Okay, that's the 2.9 to 3.5 million years ago. Okay, now this is what we talking about. Okay, so this is Dropithecus, this is Australopithecus, Homo erectus. Okay, Ramapithecus, which is something that happened in the middle. Okay, so they have the Neanderthal, they have the Cro-Magnon, and then they have the Homo sapien. So this is the picture they're always showing us, that the Neanderthal came first, then the Cro-Magnon, then the Homo sapien. But what this document is saying is that the Homo sapien actually came before both of those based on fossil evidence. Okay, again, we don't know if any of this is true. I'm just giving you what the document says. Okay, now let's talk about why Earth out of other places. Okay, why did they choose Earth? Why was Earth important? Okay, so let's jump forward to 450,000 years ago. Nibiru was facing a crisis and potential extinction because their planet's atmosphere was warting. Their atmosphere was similar to a greenhouse, and it prevented the heat that was being generated from actually staying inside of the planet. Okay? Oh no, hold on, sorry. Their atmosphere was similar to a greenhouse, and it prevented the heat that was being generated from the inside from getting out. So they needed to come up with a solution. So their scientists got together and decided that they were going to need gold so that they could suspend gold particles high above Nibiru to act as a shield to save them from being frozen to death and on a lifeless globe. Because as you see from our experience, when winter comes around, all plant life dies, which is a foundation of life on any planet. So at this time, the Annunakis were ruled by a king named Alalu. Okay? Now, What's crazy is I've only, doing my research on the Anunnaki a while ago, the only king that I had ever heard of was Antu. Okay? I'm sorry, Anu. Antu is his wife. So the only king that I had heard of was Anu, and he had a wife named Antu. Okay? When I read this document, they talked about an Alalu, is Alalu, and then they talked about how Anu became, who came into power. Okay? All right, so Alalu was attempting to mine gold from asteroids. So that means that there are elements and particles and resources in asteroids, okay? But this was ultimately unsuccessful. Now, this understandably made other leaders upset because Alalu was the king, and kings are supposed to protect and provide for their people. So there was another Anunnaki by the name of An, who is also called Anu. Now, he was livid about the failure to provide a viable solution, so he told Alalu to come outside and catch these hands. Okay? And the winner would take the throne. So if you think about like Hamilton, right? I'm gonna use Hamilton because you know Alexander Hamilton died because he got in a gunfight with somebody who challenged his manhood. And like back in the day, if you wanted to resolve something, you would get up before dawn and you would meet the person out in the field, and there would be a referee, and you would pull your guns at the same time, and whoever pulled first and shot the other person like won, and the winner takes all type shit. Okay, we were supposedly taught by these beings. Okay, so anyways, so he said, let's fight for the throne. Now that also made me think about Black Panther, but anyways, he said let's fight for the throne. Okay, so they fought and Anu won. Okay, and he became the new king of Nibiru. Alalu hopped on a spaceship full of nuclear weapons, and he goes on a solo mission to basically try to find a resolution. Okay, because he's trying to win back his grace, win back his spot. Okay, so now these nuclear weapons, he's taking the nuclear weapons because he's trying to get the gold out the asteroids. Okay, and so he comes across the asteroid belt and sees a planet that they call Kai, which is what we call Earth. And he used his nuclear weapons to get through the asteroid belt, and he found refuge on the planet called Kai. Okay, now Anu had a wife named Antu, but he had a son and a daughter from some previous escapades. Okay, the son's name was Ea, so it's Ea, who we know to be Enki. This is the oldest son. And he had a daughter named Ninhursag, who the Egyptians called Hathor. Okay? Now, if you tapped into my YouTube series, we talked about Hathor. When we talked about, I can't remember if it was the moon or if it was Venus, but we talked about Hathor, okay? So now Anu and Antu are siblings, and these beings basically believed in pure bloodlines, and they passed those belief systems to us when they elected kings for Earth, but we'll get into that part later, okay? So with his sister, he had a son named Enlil. So the mother of Enki and Ninhursag is different than the mother of Enlil. Enlil is supposed to be the rightful heir to the throne because he's the only pure blood, okay? So So with his sister, he had a son named Enlil, which makes Ea and Ninhursag his half siblings. So now Ea and Enlil are considered to be the lords because they are the sons of the king. Okay? Hold on, y'all. Now 5,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago passed from when Alalu caught them hands from Anu. Okay, 5,000 years ago passed. So that means that he was on planet Kai for 5,000 years before he ever found anything. Okay, so around 445,000 years ago, he discovered gold that could be used to save the atmosphere back home. So he sent a message back home telling them, like, I found gold and enough gold to save us. And he demanded his throne back. Instead, they held a council meeting on Nibiru and decided to send their oldest son, Enki, to Kai to figure out if any of this is true. And if it is, he was to send some gold back to Nibiru so that they can test it. Okay, so Enki was very educated, specifically in mathematics and engineering. So at the time, he had the skills needed to establish a mining colony on Earth if there was actually gold there. So that's why he volunteered. But honestly, I think he was trying to win the favor of his father, because he was the firstborn son. And, you know, he's not considered to be the true blood, but he was probably the only one who took it serious. So all those stories about the two brothers who are fighting, and, you know, the youngest brother is always the one who ends up getting the throne, but he doesn't actually want it. It's the brother that's older that actually wants it, and he's always painted out to be the villain. All of that supposedly comes from this story of these two brothers. Okay, so he was not born of pure blood. So his brother Enlil was next in line for the throne, like I said before. Now, this sounds like a lot of Marvel movies. So Anu decides to let Enki move forward with his plan, and he sends him to Earth with 50 male astronauts. But this pissed Enlil off, because Enlil felt like it should have been him, because he's next in line for the throne. Okay. Now, he gives Enki 50 male astronauts, and these astronauts, they called them the Annunaki. Okay. Because there are astronauts from the stars that are going to the planet Kai. So they give them a name, the Annunaki. Okay? And their sole purpose was to establish a mining colony here on Earth to mine for gold. Now, Enlil, like I said, was in his fields because Enki was allowed to move forward with these plans because he wanted this mission for himself. He was enraged because he is technically next in line, like I said. But, to be honest, if you ask me, I'm with the family, because if you're supposed to be next in line to the throne, we can't have nothing happen to you. So why would we be sending you on a mission into unknown land? Because if you perish, then who is going to take the throne if you're the only person to be next in line to the throne? But anyways, but you know, men, egos, feelings, whatever. So hold on, let me see where we at though. And also, too, the guy who, Alalu, who got beat up for the throne by your daddy, 5,000 years, he had 5,000 years to plan his revenge. I'm not about to send you over there. It don't make sense. But anyways, so Enki and his 50, hold on. So Enki and his 50 astronauts use a water cannon to blast through the asteroid belt, which depleted their water supply. So they had to make a pit stop, and they landed on Mars. Okay. Now, I made a video about the planets being planes of existence and Mars being the lowest state of consciousness. And I believe that. But this story is being told as if it's an actual place. So again, we don't necessarily know. All right. Apparently, they made a stop on Mars from what this document is saying. I am going to say that my views on this document has changed, but I still am a believer in information. And it's like the more you know type of principle. So just see what resonates with you, and what doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. Let it fly. Okay. So supposedly they made a stop on Mars. Okay. Now, at the time, Mars had a similar atmosphere as Earth. So they were able to get their water and continue on the Earth. When they arrived on Earth, they immediately searched for a place that had a cool climate, not too hot, not too cold. But they also needed a place with water for drinking, and a place where they could plant vegetation and house animals for food. And they chose Mesopotamia. Okay, so they landed in the Persian Gulf with the help of Alalu, the first king. I'm gonna just call him the first king because that word is tearing me up. Okay, who led them ashore. And now there are pictures of them being led ashore. And this is actually a picture that I feel like a lot of us have seen. And I guess we just didn't necessarily know what we were looking at. Because when I did the episode where I was talking about the gods for Mars and from whatever, I actually used this picture in the episode. So let me show it to y'all. So this is supposed to be this from a cuneiform tablet, and this is supposed to be showing the arrival of them with animals, right? This is the arrival of him. This is supposed to be like Allahu, like leading them onto shore. Okay. Now, Now, this is if what they're saying is true. But I digress. I'm going back to the document. Now, so the first tablet read, "When I approached the earth, there was much flooding. I built my house in a pure place. My house, its shade stretches over the snake marsh." Okay. Now, once they came on shore from their ship, Enki established a base near the Persian Gulf, which they called Eridu. So it was E.RI.do. This translates to a house in far away built, meaning like a house away from home. Okay. Once he settled in, he assumed the name Enki, because I told you his name was Ei. It was E-A. He assumed the name Enki because that means Lord of the earth, because earth was called Ki, and En means Lord. So he's telling you, I'm the Lord of the earth, Enki. Okay. Since he built his house near the snake marsh, he took on the symbol of a serpent or a snake. Now take note of this because this will be brought back up later. But he took on the symbol of a snake. Next, he got busy extracting gold from all over the planet, and he had Abgal test it, which was one of his astronauts. Anu beamed a message to Earth for them to fill up Alalu's spaceship with the gold and send it back to Nibiru. So Enki and Abgal, who again is one of the astronauts, entered the spaceship, where they find at least 7 nukes, which they hid in caves in Africa. Abgal boarded the ship and flew it back to Nibiru loaded with the gold. Now, Enki and the first group of Annunaki remained alone on Earth by themselves for 15,000 years. So about 430,000 years ago, more Annunaki came, and his half-sister, Ninhursag, joined him because she was a nurse and they wanted to establish a medical facility for the colony of miners. Now, if you were on when I talked about the Hathor, when I did the Hathor episode on my YouTube, you know that she is like a nurturer, okay? So he brought knowledge to Adam and Eve. Just wait a second, okay? I'm getting there. Now, please remember that these are advanced beings and they have very long lifespans compared to humans. This is due to their genes and their nutrition. They have this drink called soma, which is this ambrosia they brought with them that they mix with milk to drink. This drink grants them immortality. Now, I thought this was interesting because there's actually a TV show on Netflix, and it's talking about the gods, and it has that. It's supposed to be like a comedy or whatever, but there's a fountain of, like, when they're up on Olympic. Let me find you real quick. It's talking about the Greek gods. Let me find the name of this show real quick so I can be Chaos. It's called K-A-O-S, right? And it has Jeff Goldblum, Debbie Mazar, Aurora, Faye. Like, it has all, like, literally, they released it last year. Okay. So in this show, they live up on Mount Atlantis, which is supposed to be Irinden or whatever it's called. And they have this fountain of this substance that they all are drinking, right? And it's supposed to keep them immortal. And anytime that they piss Zeus off, he withholds this substance from them, which makes them more human, I guess. And they actually were getting the substance from the soul of the people. Now, I thought that was interesting because as soon as I read this is what I thought of. Okay. So I just want to throw that in there. Okay. Black Panther as well. Okay. So this substance is actually called soma. Okay. Now, basically it's supposed to have come from soul energy, but they was drinking it in the TV show. So yeah. Now, if you have not seen this show too, like, just another tidbit, basically the gods were drinking this soul energy that they got from the humans when they passed away and went through this portal to heaven. Okay, heaven is supposed to be Nibiru on this thing. But anyways, so only the righteous could get to heaven, and they were all lining up because they had been faithful. And the moment that they walked through the portal, their soul energy was stolen, and the gods had the fountain of this energy that they would drink from Olympus. So what's crazier is that they select a faithful follower each year to sacrifice for the gods, because I'm assuming that they were trying to get the purest form. Okay. So this is a crazy show. Y'all should go watch it. And I think it's interesting based on, according to what I have posted on my YouTube series. Okay. So I think it's actually really crazy. So let's jump back to the story. So now 416,000 years ago, Enki started to face some hardships on Earth. Anu and Enlil were keeping tabs on the operation from Nibiru, but something had to be decided, so Anu and Enlil actually came to Earth to help. Okay, after they arrived, Earth was handed over to Enlil, and Enki built a special base for Enlil, which he called Larsa. Now understand, this is about 30,000 years after the initial arrival on Earth. So that means that Enki ended up being on Earth 30,000 years before they intervened at all. Okay, he was running the operation, all of that, but then Anu and Enlil came down because he was struggling. Okay, so the building of Larsa launched a new phase in the mission on Earth. So they shipped more manpower, tools, and equipment to Earth and returned some valuable cargo to Nibiru. They established space facilities to get the mined gold from Earth back to Nibiru. Enlil was in charge of the facilities and Enki was in charge of the mining. Okay, so Enlil translates to the Lord of the Sky. En again means Lord, Enlil means sky. And they decided that Africa was the best place to mine gold, so Enki was sent to Africa. Since he was responsible for mining, Enki deemed the Lord of the lower world, or the underworld. Okay, because he went to Africa, which we're talking about the Mesopotamian, which is like right on the equator. Okay, he sent Enki to Africa, the Lord of the underworld, the lower world, and he handled everything at the sky, the above. Okay, do you get what I'm saying? Okay, all right. Anyways, now this is called the underworld because it is south of Mesopotamia and they are mining deep in the ground for metals. Enki also was responsible for the shipping and refining of the mined ore, which was basically copper, platinum, uranium, and silver. So they used a submarine to ship this one from Africa to Mesopotamia, and they called this a sunken ship, but it's what we would consider to be a submarine. Okay, these ores were taken to Bad Tabira, where they were smelted and refined and cast into ingots, which were actually found at various African/Mesopotamian excavation sites, meaning that we have found these ingots when we were excavating these sites in Africa, in Mesopotamia. So there's actual proof of what these tablets are saying that have been discovered over the years. So it's definitely an option. Okay. They also established several settlements in Mesopotamia for the gold mining and shipping operations. Eridu, near the Persian Gulf, was first, and then Shurapak was the medical center where Nirhasag was the chief medical officer, and Bad Tiberia was the center for refining the ore. So let me show y'all a picture of a map so that y'all see what I'm saying here. Okay. Okay, so this is the map. So y'all remember I said Larsa is the place that he established for Enlil to live. Okay, this is Larsa. Okay, then I also said Eridu. Eridu is out here. Okay, and then we also said he was shipping the ore to, where was he shipping that ore? Hold on, let me see. Hold on, y'all. Let me go up real quick. Okay, Shira, whatever it's called. I don't see that on this map unless I'm just missing it. Well, anyways, those are the two places and where they're supposed to be located. Okay, now the Shirapak was the medical center where Ninhursag was the chief medical officer, and Bad Tiberia was the center for refining the ore. Enlil established a mission control center, which was just a fancy command post where they could coordinate space journeys to and from Nibiru, and this was in Nimpur. And that is actually on this map as well. Okay, so let me show y'all that. So Nimpur is right here. Okay, so let me back up. That's supposed to be Nimpur. Okay, because this guy apparently did his research. So I love a good situation. Okay, so Nimpur is where they kept all the fancy equipment, like a communication device for contact with Nibiru. It is a beam or a death ray weapon and an instrument that could scan the entire sky and anywhere on land, which is where we get the all-seeing eye symbol from. Okay, hey Set, there have been temples found here that have this eye idol, which represents that all-seeing eye of Nippur. They also had Sippar, which was located in Mount Ararat. That's supposed to be the mountain that Noah ended up going to, but not there yet, okay? But there was Sippar was supposed to be Mount Ararat and served as a spaceport for spaceships to land and take off from. Now, let me see if they have that picture in here. Okay, no. All right, so back to what I'm doing. All right. So they also had Sippar, which we talked about. So Utu, who was the grandson of Enlil, was in charge of Sippar. Lyric was a beacon city to guide the landing ships. Ninurta, the son of Enlil, was in charge of this area. Larsa was converted into a coordinating center between Earth and the Ajiji, which is their astronaut corp. The Ajiji is like the corporation of astronauts. So let me show you what the picture of the Ajiji. These are supposed to be the Ajiji. So y'all have probably seen this picture before. This is supposed to represent what the Ajiji look like. And if you look at this, this looks like the chakra system. It looks like the spine. It looks like all kind of stuff. Okay. So the Ajiji was like their, ooh, I didn't mean to send you an invitation. Please don't take that invitation. But yeah, okay. So that's supposed to be the Ajiji. All right. So there was also a base established on Mars where 300 of the 900 Annunaki sent to Earth were stationed. The Annunaki on Mars were called the Ajiji. So the Annunaki who were on Earth were called Annunaki because they were on planet Kai, okay, or Ki. The Ajiji were the same group of people, but specific to Mars, okay? So the Annunaki were the astronauts sent to Earth, and the Ajiji were the ones who were sent to Mars. So the operation was ran like this. They mined ore. The mined ore would arrive by submarine from Africa to the Persian Gulf to be refined at Bad Tiberia. Then the refined gold would be sent to the Mars, to the Ajiji, who then transferred the metal to shuttle spaceships that would travel periodically from Nibiru. Now, I'm going to show you the map, because they show a map of what this chart is. Like, hold on, let me get to the map real quick of their path, because there was apparently like a path between okay, so this is a picture of the two different so this is the Anunnaki who are the winged people on Earth, and then the winged helmet is supposed to be of the Ajiji who are in Mars. And then apparently, like them having the pyramids on Mars and everything, that this was supposedly like a city on Mars. This was supposed to be like the face, which I'm gonna tell you in a second, was supposed to be a dedication to Enlil, if I'm not mistaken. And then it talks about like the other pyramids and stuff that we see on Mars. And I thought that there was like a pathway that they had on here picture wise of like the path that they took in the solar system, but maybe it's not on there, which is okay. Are y'all still with me? Because I know this is a lot of information. All right, so the operation ran like this. The mined ore would arrive by submarine from Africa to the Persian Gulf to be refined at Bad Tiberia. Then the refined gold would be sent to Mars with the Ajiji, who then transferred it to Nibiru. All right, so over time, the erosion in Nibiru's atmosphere was healing. Apparently, they would count the planets to chart their path back to Earth. So the first planet that they would encounter would be Pluto, and then Mars was the sixth planet, which is why the symbol for Mars was a six-pointed star in ancient Sumer, and Earth was the seventh. So there was something called the Sumerian cylinder, which depicts a spacecraft with solar panel passions between the sixth and seventh planet, which would be Mars and Earth. And that's that picture I just showed y'all of the little wing thing. Okay, hey Ellington, I'm gonna have to post this on YouTube, y'all, because I'm at the end of what I'm doing, so y'all have to just rewatch it. But we talking about the Anunnaki. All right, so There were shuttles that were constantly going between Mars and Nibiru that took personnel back and forth. They built a monument on Mars that looked like a face. This was dedicated to Alalu. So it wasn't dedicated to Enlil. It was dedicated to the first king, Alalu, because he's the one who told them that the gold was there. He's the one who found it, right? He didn't give him back the throne, but he gave him like a monument, all right? And as we know, science has proven that Mars was inhabited by humans at some point, or some type of being, because there are structures. There's also like areas on Mars where it looked like there was either flowing water or that there were crops, okay? So the evidence that Mars was a planet with seasons, flowing water, oceans, rovers, cloudy blue skies, and possibly some plant life. Apparently, it is currently going through an ice age, which is similar to what happened on Earth. So there was a space mission to Mars in 1976 where they sent some space probes called the Vikings. Photographs was taken of what they called the Inca city. This was described as being similar to the ancient ruins because there were walls and rectangles and square sections. And these photos also show pyramids and structures that look like a face. I'm sure many of y'all have seen those pictures. That's the picture that I just showed y'all. So if you believe that Mars is a real place and that they went out of space, you know. So NASA confirmed that the face and the pyramids were artificial structures and that there were remnants of a farming colony located near the face along with a runway, and that this had been done by an intelligent group of beings. In addition, they dated the face and main pyramid to be about 500,000 years old. This comes from the Monument of Mars doc by Richard Hoagland. Okay, so I'm about to wrap this up because I got to scramble on. So just in conclusion, this is supposed to be what happened while they was here, how far back it went before people even inhabited the earth, like what actually created the heaven and the earth, all of those things. Okay, so next time I am going to start from where we are right here, and then we're just going to pick up from 16,000 years later. Okay, so that is it. That is all when it comes to this for today, because I got a client in 20 minutes. How do we feel? What does that make y'all think of? Do y'all even believe this? Because I think you welcome, babe. I think that my interpretation of this has shifted, and I wasn't even going to release this information, and this is probably why I'm doing it this way as well, because I wasn't going to make it a part of my podcast. But the moment that I came to this information, I started getting downloads, and I started, I don't know, feeling differently about it, you know. But I am a person who is a person of options, and I understand that my journey is going to be different than other people's journeys, meaning that everybody's at different places. And if I could even bring this knowledge to somebody's awareness and it helps them to start getting those same downloads that I was getting, then I've at least done my part. Okay, Ghost from Mars movie was created from something. Ghost from Mars movie, what's that about? It's confusing because I don't know if they have left Earth. Well, based on what this guy who wrote this document is saying, is that they have always been involved in human affairs. They never left. They just went underground. So that's why they started calling them the invisible ones, the shining ones, the invisible ones. Apparently some of them left because there was a nuclear war. They ended up killing a lot of us, and some of them felt bad and fled, right? But there's one in specific that stayed, which is the one who supposedly created Adam and Eve and the religions in the Hebrew language and all of that. And he is the invisible one, the one that is behind the scenes. Movie with Ice Cube starring in it. Ooh, I'm going to have to watch that. Where is it on? Hey, Miss Red, I came here and I was just watching Bashar talk about the same thing. Oh, really? Oh, really? On what? Gaia channel? Oh, that's interesting. Hidden in plain sight. Yeah, exactly. But he's called the hidden one. The hidden one. And it's actually a word for it that we actually know. But it translates into the invisible one, the hidden one. And it's supposed to be who we consider to be Ra, Marduk. He's supposed to be the one that they're talking about, which we'll get into next time when we talk about this, because we also going to talk about who we know to be the pharaohs, and how some of them were actually direct descendants from these Anunnaki beings. And so they still kept their same name. Like, so for example, like Ninhursag and Ninurta, and all of those were supposed to be like the Assyrian gods. So from the Assyrian tablets. I just searched info on him. This subject came up as something he was talking about. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to go look and see what he's talking about. But what's crazy is if you studied any of Dolores Cannon's research or whatever, and the stuff that she had talked about, like a lot of this lines up with stuff that she mentions before of like what actually happened. She talks about the extraterrestrials involvement and how some of them are still here. When you actually get into this document though, which I'm gonna continue to get into it, and if y'all interested, if y'all part of my Patreon community chat is free. You know, so a lot of times if I'm about to go live, I'll post in there so that y'all know like, hey, I'm about to go live. If y'all don't have y'all notifications on, because sometimes they don't notify people. So I try to notify through my Patreon. But I'm going to keep talking about this though, because I think that at the very least, everybody should be looking for the truth. Okay. It doesn't mean that somebody's right, somebody's wrong or anything like that. It just literally means that we all have the same goal. We all have the same goal. And all of these are options, because I don't think we're ever going to truly know. So I think these are all options, and at least we have the pieces of the options. You know, I'm going to watch the full video on YouTube. Yeah, I'm gonna post this on YouTube, y'all. Yes, indeed. When do you plan to put your YouTube up? It's already been up, babe. My YouTube is Big Taj with 2 J's. Here it is. Hold on. 165 videos. I got book recommendations. I got all of my previous lives. I got my spiritual intelligence 101 course, which is only on my YouTube and my Patreon. I also have like my playlist, which are psychic readings, spiritual intelligence, all of my lives, previous lives, and then my YouTube series, which was about energy and numerology and astrology. And I also did like a book club thing as well. Then I have a whole section for my TikTok content. And then I have my podcast. My full podcast is on there as well. So if you go to podcast, 32 episodes, season 1 and 2. So everything is on my YouTube. Everything is on there, baby. But I gotta go, y'all, because I got a client in 20 minutes and I just need to take a second. I just need to take a break. I just need to take a break. Before I get on there, because I didn't necessarily mean to even do this today, but I'm excited that I did though, because we can continue the conversation in our next couple of lives, because it's 4 documents, y'all. 4 documents, and some of them are like 200 something pages long. So I think what I'm gonna do next time is just start reading them, and as the pictures come up, show y'all. Because what's crazy is when I first moved to California, I was driving down the highway and I literally thought I was fucking insane, because I'm talking on the phone with my friend and I look up, and you know how like it was nothing but clouds in the sky. Like you couldn't even see the sky, right? It was nothing but these thick ass clouds, but there was a gap in a cloud, and I seen something that looked like it looked like this, like it was like this shape, like the shape of a pill, but it was super flat. And the moment I seen it, I said in my head, what the fuck is that? And it literally, I feel like it was like laying like this. It went like this, turned on the side, and it moved very fast towards, like I'm talking about within a flash, towards the mountains. And I said, no, that was like, I literally convinced myself, no, that's not true. But I told my friend on the phone, and she's like, are you sure, friend? Like, she believed anything that I say, but she believed me. And I was like, I really don't know if I believe myself, to be honest. And I read this document, y'all, and I'm about to show y'all the picture. I read this document, and it's a picture of this ship that they used to use anciently. And I'm about to show it to y'all, just so I can show y'all that it's fucking insane. Because when I read this document and I got to the little ship part, I said, you are fucking kidding me. Hold on, here it is. It looked just like this, and it's called a Vimina, and this is a cigar-shaped multi-level ship that they used to use, and it actually is a hover ship or whatever, but it's an anti-gravity ship. And so that happened like 3 years ago. like I would probably say through, like as soon as I moved here, I was coming to LA for something. And it's like I looked up and I seen just a glimpse, like I literally just seen a little opening. I seen a glimpse, and as soon as I seen it, it's like it all happened so fast. It was like I had the thought, and it was like boom, 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 and I was just like, "What? No, I'm tripping." Like, "Oh no, I'm tripping." And then I read this document 3 years after that, and I'm like, and what's crazy is this drawing of it comes from 1923, and it was called a venema, and it took off vertically. That's what it said. It said it hovers in the sky and it takes off vertically. That's the part that shook me, because horizontal was this way, vertical was this way. It literally flipped and was like, phoop. And I convinced myself that it was just like, okay, you're delusional. Don't tell nobody that. That's crazy. And I read this document, and I literally, when I read it, I literally almost had a heart attack. I was like, no fucking way. And these are the ships that they used in those nuclear attacks too. So, and what's crazy is they've been depicted in like some of the like carved stone that we found around the world. Like, look, some of the ships being depicted. Yeah, Vimana. That's what it's, no, it's VI. So Vimanas is what they call Vimanas. And then the first name is like Shakuna. So it's Shakuna space Vimana. And then in another text, they've been called Vemanika Sastra. And they actually found like a text where they were basically given instructions on how to drive it. And it was supposedly you can drive it from solar energy. And it doesn't really have a sound because it's like it's driven by like anti-gravity or some shit. And the picture that I showed y'all is from Egyptian hieroglyphs. Carved in the stone, that's from Egyptian hieroglyphs. So apparently the ancient Indians flew these vehicles, according to writings that they found in Pakistan. And they were brought from Pakistan to Easter Island. And then not only that, the Atlanteans, if you believe in the Atlanteans, who were actually known as the Asvins. So in Indian text, they were known as the Asvins, the Atlanteans. So they tell you that Plato is the only person who wrote about the Atlanteans. But according to this document, ancient Indians wrote about the Atlanteans. And the ancient Indians were not the Indians that we know them to be today. They look like us. Like the ancient Australians, if you look in their caves, they look like us. So that whole cultural appropriation from astrology and chakra system, that all is ancient Indian information. It's not those Indians. Like, those are not the original Jews. Anyways, I gotta go because my alarm clock went off about 2 minutes ago. Okay, I'm going back to a few animes because venemas were mentioned in those. If you find that, DM me. The flying ships mentioned in Indian lore. Yes. If you find that, please DM me. Please send me a message on Telegram. Please send me a message on Patreon. Whichever way you can find me. Please. Because that's fucking crap. What anime? Do you remember what anime that was? I believe at any moment you tell yourself, I know you fucking lying. It's for real, for real. Nah, for real. Rod of the Shield. Okay. Hold on. Let me write this down. Rod of the Shield Hero. Okay. The Shield Hero anime. Oh, Rise. Okay. Rise of the Shield Hero anime season 2. Wow. That's crazy. I didn't think that any of y'all was going to confirm that. That's confirmation. I don't know. Something kept telling me that I needed to talk about this. I needed to talk about this. Because I'm pretty sure that I have talked to his wife before. Anu's wife. because a being came to me and was talking, and they came through, and at first it was a clicking sound. It was like a click, but I knew that it was, I could feel the energy. And it was like clicking, like the people in Africa who like have that language that clicks. And it was like click, 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 click. And then I started getting downloads. And somebody started telling me the things that I had that was wrong with me. Meaning like the stuff that I needed to let go of. The stuff that like reading me like a fucking script. I'll ask my brother, he loves anime. Yes, I need to know. I literally got all the knowledge I come across through anime. Yes, I tell people all the time, anime is the hidden truth. If you want to ever find the hidden truth, you got to look into anime. That's fucking crazy. Okay, I got to go because I got 5 minutes and I got to pee. So I'm going to post this on YouTube. Go watch the full video there if you didn't get to, if you came in later on, just found out Holy Spirit is the mother of the living. Yeah, her name is Tiamat. Somebody asked me about Tiamat earlier. Just wait. We are going to get there. I want to give y'all the full information and then we can share knowledge about it. But I want y'all to have the full information first and then we can share knowledge about it. That's the whole purpose of doing this. So next time I come on, I will make sure I have more time. Tiamat, Fate Grand Order. What is your YouTube page? It's Big Taj with 2 J's. So BIGTAJJ. Tiamat, Fate Grand Order. Listen, so they say Tiamat was the planet Earth before it got hit, right? Now, Tiamat from these documents is supposed to be who we consider to be Eve, and that everybody is a descendant of Tiamat. And then that actually goes into what I learned about the Sibyls, who were basically the serpents, and they were prophetess. And Tiamat is supposedly the ancestors that we all have in common as women. I'm not even gonna go there, because I only got 5 minutes to go pee. I love y'all. I will talk to y'all next time. And next time I'm gonna have time on my side. Maybe I'll hop on here on Sunday. 555, she said also. Yeah. Okay. Well, I gotta go. TMI, Axel Marduk, gratitude. Okay, I gotta go. I love y'all. Watch Fate Grand Order. What's that? Oh, anime. Okay. And also too, one that I love was Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I channeled Isis one time and she came in a tornado and it made me think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because he comes in a tornado at the beginning. Oh, child. Big Taj with 2 J's. BIGTAJJ. So it's so much to be put together from this information, and that's why I want to share it, and I want to just put it all out there, and then we can have a discussion about it. The things that you know, that I know, that we know, might be able to put some things together. Okay, so I love y'all deep. I will talk to y'all. I'm probably going to try to get on here Sunday, so turn on y'all subscribes. If y'all not subscribed to notifications on my TikTok, I only ever go live on TikTok. So subscribe here so we can continue the conversation. Yes, Mastery 74. All right, I love y'all. Bye.